that's kind of annoying. There's constant. Sorry, I'm yelling at this stupid. All the little robot warnings now that they're putting in here. Try to just do a live feed, but it's constantly getting interrupted. It's constantly getting interrupted. Anything I try to do. Seeing you're trying to get your hands in there because that's what you're doing things with your hands and you're trying to show that, but you also want to have a little bit of a background, something for people to look at and know exactly what the hell it is you're doing here. And I got 3 different cameras because I'm trying to make video, trying to make actual video footage as I'm live feeding, do it all at once. So we're kind of basically, I'm kind of showing you guys just working on these kind of things, simple carvings that pretty much anybody can learn to do. And like I've said in my other videos, I got to the point where I want everything simplified in my toolkit. Got rid of my strops, got rid of all my fine sharpening stones. Just got it down to a simple basic science for myself. Basically, I just use you got your 1000 grit wet dry auto body sanding block here, and it works for me, especially for this knife, because this knife is it's got an inside curve and an outside curve on it, and it definitely does bring a good polish and a good edge to this blade. And that's basically what I do, and I don't press down real hard when I'm sharpening. I just give it a little bit. And this is the only thing that I use to sharpen, and it works fine for me. I'm working in air dried pieces of pine from my wood shop. I cut and mill all my own wood. I've got these blocks of wood that I cut and mill myself. Knife's got a good edge on it. It's got a real nice hard metal. I don't know exactly. You see there's a stamp on it. I can't really read it. Even my eyes are real bad, but it looks like it says Germany. It's a really awesome carving knife that I got. I buy all my stuff at junk stores, junk sales, but I have tons of these pieces of pine that and I have wooden shims. Now I've shown in the past too in my other videos, we use X-Acto knives, X-Acto knife sets. I use these two on my carving. And then I got little pieces of wood just to test out. This is a pen knife. It's a pearl handled. These are really good. This metal is really awesome metal. For a cheap, easy way to make a carving knife. And it's fairly sharp. It's not, I mean, after a time, it's going to take a long time to get a really good sharp blade out of this. You can use a strap if you want. Some people insist on it, and you see this blade's not as sharp, and also I'm hitting powdery. This is from a grub or a beetle hole, a wormhole. You can see the difference too. If I just like wearing gloves, just mostly because it's still kind of wintry weather here, and we get a lot of that dry, cold air, and your hands are just sensitive, um, especially my hands, because I'm in the shop with the chainsaw oil and all the gas and oil from cars and grease and the cold air. My hands will peel. My hands chap really bad in that weather. But you see the difference in the two blades, because I got this blade a lot sharper than the bigger one. Whatever that comment means, I thank you for that. I see there's other comments that have been already booted, because people, I don't even know if it's directed at me. I think people just need to, they see something and they got to come in and say something stupid. So if you guys are doing YouTube, or you see how much sharper this blade is than both of these were. And then this is a dull X-Acto knife blade, but it still cuts. It still has quite a bit more precise cutting to it. And what what I like these X-Actos for more than anything, when you get in here, you see you get in the face, and this isn't even really, that's not even super tight, super clean detailed. That's just going at it. But you see, the X-Actos help me get in those little places a lot easier. I like doing small carvings. This is kind of just a goofy character. He's got his mouth open and his tongue sticking out, big pot belly, giving a fist bump. That's always kind of been my mascot, if you might say. And then we do these. He's just psyched. He's psyched about being here, being something. He doesn't know why. But you see, we do these. I use the X-Acto knives for these. And this one, you see, it's kind of in the an Irish, like Claddagh or Welsh type of. It's almost like it's very symbolic. It's like the Claddagh, if you know what the Claddagh is. It's the hands holding the crown and the heart. This is just a rose. And this is in other videos that I was showing, where, and see, this is what I like using. The X-Acto knives are great for this. They make this very easy. Even if you got a sharper X-Acto knife, you could basically just sit here and pick away. You see where I'm just making real thin lines with it. You can use these bigger ones. You can use these bigger ones to get in there too and cut away at areas. But I would rather, for me personally, my personal preference, you see how that just broke away? And I'm kind of pre-planning that. My personal preference when I'm carving, when I'm cutting wood, is to go It's to go less based on what people think is right, less based on what experts say. Like you see me sharpening my knives, you don't you don't have to get all crazy and get a leather strap and all the fancy stones. Just go to the auto parts store. This is just a it's just a thing of black pepper. It's just a pepper container. All you need is a box. I mean, you could use an old charging port if you're not using it. It's not plugged. You could use a block of wood. You could wrap this. Get a square block of wood. Wrap that around that. It's just got to be flat for your blade to skate across and work on. That's all you need. It's just got to. And I'm not pressing down real hard. And you see here where it's actually the blade is actually cutting away some of the. I mean, you can hear how hard I'm pressing down. Not hard at all. All right. And that's all we're doing, and it takes a long time. It takes repeated time. Like even this blade was not as sharp as it is now when I first got it. So it's just a matter of going through, taking your time, being patient with it, working it in. Saw the video where we did a soap carving of a rose, right? And that was just to show you go from one to the other, right? You see the basic same shape there. It's all the same. Once you learn the knife control and the soap, then you can go to the wood and be less likely to hurt yourself, because if you lose control with the knife and the soap, it's going to break the soap. The whole thing's going to break away, and then your carving's done for, and you got to start over. Same thing with stone. Before I cut any stone, I want to learn about other materials, because stone is the hardest, and it's the hardest one to work in. You're gonna break it. You're likely to break away in these areas the easiest. And when I cut stone, I use all diamond tools, rotary, really loud rotary tools. I have videos showing some of that. So even just that little bit that I just showed you on that thing has already made this blade work better, right? This is just one of my test pieces. Air dried pine. If you guys go, you find a waterway, you find a beach, somewhere to go and scavenge for found wood, anywhere near the water is probably the best place. And you find, if you go for driftwood, which would be basically, you can find driftwood anywhere. You can find it in a ditch, you can find it in a creek bed. Basically, driftwood is any type of wood that's been mostly kept in the water for most of its time since it fell off of the tree, and it'll be real silvery colored, and it'll be real dry when you cut. If you cut on the inside of it, it has no bark on it. Driftwood is going to have no bark. It's going to be nicely cured wood, water cured. And you see, as I'm working on this piece, we're just kind of cutting away, rounding the top off as we go. And I don't have to stay on one carving. These dang commercials, I'm trying to have something in the background as I'm working to keep me focused. I like to have a little bit of background noise as I work. Let me try this here. Let's see. Is this on? Okay. So that's on. That's taking footage. So many cameras right now to manage and deal with, and they don't all stay where they're supposed to or stay running when they should. So with this knife, I've got the two different blades. See, this is easily the blade to use along this edge, or I can flip over. And typically, with a lot of whittling knives, you saw in the video where I made these two blades, typically, for most whittling knives, you want to have a straight edge here. This is the exception because this is a real carving knife, and it was solely made just for carving and wood. I'm gonna guess that this is a chip carving knife. I can't say exactly because of its age and the way it was put together. It's very, very good steel. There's no stampings on the blade that I can see. Just such an awesome. I love old antique type of carving knives. I love finding them, and it just you gotta look around, and I do. I go through stores and I go through pawn shops, junk shops, and it's not something that I do all the time, but it's definitely, and you can see how this was refinished. The oil on it, somebody had re-oiled this and they did a really bad job of it, but they kept it preserved. That was the whole intention. This handle, that might even be somebody's personal, because that looks like, I mean, it all looks like it was all handmade. Even the rivets holding the blade in it all looks handmade. So, but when I have time, if I have the notion, especially like on rainy days, when I'm out doing my delivery rounds and I get slow time, and I want to stay out working, but I just get, half an hour or an hour of free time where there's no deliveries coming in, I'll go in to one of the local secondhand shops and check the cases out. I mean, I buy lots of stuff as far as all my music equipment. I'll go in there and look for guitar pedals or even guitars, amplifiers, all kinds of stuff, that you might not find it anywhere else. Or it's like going on eBay. You go on eBay, if you're going on there to buy extra music equipment or extra carving equipment, it's kind of a hobby. It's kind of the fun. It's kind of the fun part of doing this. I'll admit that we all like to do. We all like to shop. We all like to spend. We're all consumers. That's why we're doing this, because people like to buy this stuff. Everybody's a consumer. Nothing wrong with that. I'll admit it. Everybody likes to buy stuff. Everybody likes to shop. I know that I do. So, and this is interesting here because there's a knot. There's actually a knot of wood. I don't know if I can get better camera angle here and get what I'm doing in the picture better. There's a knot of wood here, and so that's why I want this knife nice and sharp. And I'm doing the same thing here with this piece that I was doing with that piece, but there's a knot of wood here, so it's going to take me a little bit longer. And I want to make sure that I'm going with the grain. And see, you can do this type of thing, but you just have to be mindful and be careful. Like, everybody thinks, oh, this is whittling, just doing this. I'm not whittling if I'm not pushing hard and whipping off a bunch of big chips real quick. But this takes a lot of force and a lot of effort, and anything in front of you, if I hit that, I just ding my blade. So I could do the same thing here and actually have control, and I can feel the grain and see I'm actually taking a lot quicker. And I can feel the grain where it's crossing. I can feel the grain where it's not working or not wanting to cooperate with me fully. And I can change if I have a double-sided blade, I can change the blade around, use the other side, whatever's easiest, whatever's easier for the given situation. But I can also feel the layering of the grain, and if any's going to break away, I have control over it. And this is mostly why I wear the gloves too, because I'm hitting with a double-sided blade. I'm hitting my thumb a lot, which if my thumb wasn't covered, I either put tape on there or I'll just put a glove on. Oftentimes I'll just put the gloves on. Not that the gloves protect my hands any more or any less from accidental swipes. See there? A couple weeks ago, I actually did take part of my knuckle off by accident because I was doing that type of thing and went right across my knuckle. It wasn't bad. It didn't feel great, but it could have been worse. And it's not, just because you're wearing gloves doesn't mean that you're protected or you're doing the right things. Mostly, and you see how I keep hitting my thumb and I'm not worried about it because this is stopping it from digging up my thumb. It's not a big deal. I don't mind. Doesn't matter what knife I use. If I do the same thing, I'm still going toward my thumb. This little point is hitting into my thumb, but it's not cutting. It's not cutting through the glove because I'm basically just coming straight in. I'm not slicing across. And see, sometimes you get both hands. If you're bracing behind the blade with your other thumb, it's fine to give a push, but you're only going from here to here. You know, you're not going all the way to here and hitting a piece of metal with your blade. You're only going from where you're starting to the end of the stick, or where if you actually do this, that kind of rolling motion when you cut, if you actually do that kind of thing, then you're reducing the likelihood of damage down to that much, about as wide as your finger, right? And that's mostly mostly when we're whittling, we're trying to reduce the likelihood of failure, of catastrophic failure, which in this case, catastrophic failure would be pretty much just missing the cut, a bad swing on the cut, catching an edge and pushing too hard and then having things break away, and then having all hell break loose. That could be catastrophic failure. So when we're whittling, we're just trying to reduce all that and keep that at a minimum. I like that comment. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but you said something about. So I'm trying to read it. A breath of fresh. I have a wooden spoon. A breath of fresh bees. Okay. Like breath of fresh air, you mean? I don't know. Some of these comments are interesting. I don't usually read or get into the comments. Um, I've found a lot lately with the comments on my videos. It's best if I just ignore them. Don't even. I mean, I leave them on because it's interesting if there's people there that I actually want to see or talk to. I do have some people that come by. Other carvers often come by to say hi and check in and talk about what they're doing, and it's cool. There's other channels, other carving channels out there. I'm probably one of the very few wood carver channels that I don't hide any secrets, quote unquote. I don't have any secrets. I don't think that I have any trademarks. See, it's already super sharper than it just was about 2 minutes ago. And that's where I say with the blade, just work the blades, be patient with it. The more relaxed and patient you are with sharpening that blade, the better it's going to come out. Because it wasn't even cutting this wood 10 minutes ago when I was trying. But as far as other carvers or talking to other carvers and helping other channels out, and they're a lot more successful than I am, because that's the beauty of YouTube. The whole YouTube thing is you take it and you run with it. All I'm given is some information that the guy or the girl might need, to give them ideas, and the thing is that you already know if you can go in the woods and grab a piece of wood and just start carving on it. You have what it takes. You have the motivation. 90% of carving is motivation. I haven't been super motivated at all this year, to do video. I've been carving here and there, but a lot of my stuff has just been me just messing around, like you're seeing here. Like I did that carving completely off video, and I did the cat. I wasn't on video. I did this. I did none of these on video except in the piece of soap so far. And it's motivation. It's motivation to sit and turn a camera on and try talking to a camera. Usually when I carve, I like to have the TV on or music, and I just don't like to think or talk to anybody. So it's kind of hard for me to. The most difficult part of this really is sitting here and doing it, and in front of a camera, and trying to make sure I'm saying the right thing, or trying to make sure that I'm showing what I'm doing. I have to keep looking at the camera. I have to keep checking the comments, see if somebody sees something or hears something that I don't want in the video. It's doing video. It's a whole other extra bunch of worry. But you see, just by taking my time and sharpening these slowly, a little bit at a time, they're getting a lot sharper. And you don't need, I'm not saying don't use all the other stuff. I'm saying you don't actually need it. If you learn to sharpen and you learn to get a good blade, all that you need, you could actually use rougher paper on this edge and still get a good carving edge that would cut and slice the piece of wood. if you can strop, if you can use the leather strop or whatever, if you want to use a finer stone, use a finer stone. If you want to go to 2,000 or 4,000 grit, go to 2,000 or 4,000 grit. That's up to you. I'm showing you guys what works for me, and I'm not scared to go full in and use strop and all that, but I'm not that good at it. I'm not that patient with it. And it seems like when I strop often enough times, it's I wouldn't say it's more dull, but it doesn't work. It doesn't cut as good as one of my rough or knocked in blades. Same thing with my chainsaws. Personally, I don't think that you need to put a lot of time. You don't need to put a lot of overtime or a lot of over effort into, there goes the GoPro. See, there's always something that I have to stop for and check and worry about. That's not part of carving. It's part of another world that I'm not good at dealing with. So just from my own experience with stropping and overworking, I guess that's the term that I want to say, is you don't have to overwork an edge in order to get a good edge. There's no written law saying this is the only way to do it. And that's where I think a lot of people miss. I don't even know with this camera. Well, trying to get the dang camera to turn on. It's not even turning on right now. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with there. I can't make it work. I can't reach inside it and make it work better. It is what it is. If the battery doesn't work, that battery's dead. And then you're going to sit here and change 5 different batteries. Not a single one of them's going to have any life in it. And you still have to go out and work tonight. You're trying to do this. You're trying to get through this quickly because you have another life besides sitting here on camera showing people how to do everything that you've done all your life. Anyway, we're back. So you don't have to, I guess my point, what I'm trying to get across is you don't have to overwork an edge. I find often even with my chainsaw teeth, with the teeth on the chains, it's not a blade, it's a tooth. It's a chisel tooth, it's not a blade. Chisels don't have blades, they have an edge. There's a difference. This is a blade. This is a knife blade. A chisel point or a chisel end, whatever you want to call it, is just that. It's an end. It's an edge. It doesn't work the same as a knife. You can use it the same as a knife in a way. Usually when I chisel, I'm twisting this way with the front of the chisel as I'm going in. It can have the same principles. It can have the same uses in a way, but chisels are more for gouging out areas, for making hollow areas. Like this would be my hollow area maker, which I do want to get into that at some point and show that. So this end of this stick, you see that we're working on a piece of knotted wood, and it's taken a while, and I'm just going to keep working this guy, but in the interim, we'll go right to this guy that's already there. This guy's already mostly there, right? And we can go right in. And I know you guys have been waiting for this one impatiently or patiently. You see how clean that cuts? That's fine for me. I like when it cuts and leaves that kind of glossied over, nice clean cut. So here using this knife, we're gonna look at the old face. We're gonna go off a corner, right? Because the nose protrudes out, right? If you look at this, see, it's just a corner. It's always been how we do it. It's always the easiest way to make a face, right? So we're just gonna go right in, and we're gonna make the 5 cut, right? There's 1 cut, and here I got to turn it upside down. We're just gonna mark in for the eyes for now. There's 2 cuts, right? And because I want the nose kind of round and bulbous, kind of wide nose, we're gonna start right off the bat, 3 and 4, and then your final cut is the bottom of the nose. So now we have recognizable facial areas in 5 cuts, right? So easy enough said. If you just go on any piece of wood anywhere, right? Let's take a big one. Same thing. We'll just go. You can almost see where it's gonna fit the easiest. And you don't have to. We'll find an easier example here. Easier to see anyway. And you don't have to follow exactly. It doesn't matter which cut you make first. It doesn't matter which cut you make last. Like if I say, well, I see the nose here, right? So there's 1 cut, right? Just 1 line. There's 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, right? So there's my 5 cut method. And then I can go in and I can say, well, we're going to make like a real friendly, happy face. Right? And he's going to have kind of a bulbous nose. So we'll just go in and just start shaping, like, right? Like this is a circle. It's a simple circle. We're just throwing that circle in there, right? And I just S-curve. The S-curve, right, that's going to be your eyebrows. So there's another ball there. And then there's kind of a oval or a triangle, right? And you can even say, well, what if I draw a heart here? You know, what if I were to draw a heart? Right? It kind of gives a shape and a dimension and a definition, and it doesn't have to be, well, you could draw another heart here, especially if you're doing a female face. And I have a video on that one, is to draw like more feminine, fairy looking faces, right? Like you can draw a heart that right below the cheeks, and take it for what it is. Take it as you want to take it, and make your own definition of it. Don't follow, don't worry about what is the law telling me, what does the rule book say. Well, there's really no rules out there saying that you have to do it one way or the other. Mostly the biggest rule for us, I guess, the biggest rule in my book of knowledge that I could say to stick to And yes, I'm having my coffee. Mm-hmm. Got my wonderful cup of coffee, and got my little crunchy biscotti treats. Trying to go on a diet, get off the donuts, get off the muffins, because I crave those a lot, and I love those. I love eating junk food like that. Um, and it's really bad. I've really noticed, especially at this age and in my life. It's killing me. Yeah, it might. I mean, it might be it might be kind of uh, morbid to say that, but it is. I feel like it's killing me. That kind of diet, and it's like eating a McDonald's diet every day. There's actually a film about that called "Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead" or "Super Size Me," uh, and the guy talks about and goes on a McDonald's diet for a month or whatever it is, and shows the scientific side of it. And it's interesting because depending on your body type, depending on your metabolism, depending on your activity in your life, what you're doing in your life, it may actually help you in short bursts at a time. Like if you're a weightlifter, pretty much anything that you put in your body uh, is going to drive your body to grow and boost if that's the kind of activity that you're doing every day. It's like me if I stop running chainsaws um, for months on time, I lose grip in my hands. My arms get extremely skinny, and my belly gets a lot fatter, and my chest gets flabby really quick. But if I keep up my activity with doing the things that shaped my body to where it's at, doing the things that I'm used to doing my whole life, then I look healthier, I feel healthier, and it doesn't matter what I eat, it doesn't matter how much sleep I get. What matters is the activity. Um, so you can get away with a lot more as long as you're feeling healthy and and it doesn't slow you down. And that's where your diet, like everybody's like, oh, eat the right diet. I don't think it has a lot to do with diet. It has a lot to do with putting in your body what your body needs, and feeding your soul more than feeding your body. Because I can, when I'm carving full time and I'm really into what I'm doing and I'm having a good time in my life, or just working, if I really like my job, I could go days without eating, or days without eating much at all. Um, and there's times that I do that now because spring is coming. But I'm also trying to lighten up. I know I realize what's bad for me and what is bad for anybody. If you're eating 4 or 5 muffins or 3 or 4 donuts a day, and all you want to do is sit there and eat donuts even while you're working, um, now it's a harmful thing. You know, now it's now it's no longer good for you. It doesn't matter how healthy you think you are or whether you need it or not. Now it's a bad habit. It's like bags of Doritos. Doritos are absolutely horrible for you. I don't care what anybody says. They're the worst thing in the world to put in your body. Worse than, well, it's like McDonald's food. Like that's another one that just I've tried it maybe 4 or 5 times in my life since I was a little kid. It seems like it gets worse all the time, and it actually is not real food. Like McDonald's food is actual poison. So those are things where I would say, yeah, okay, like if it's actual garbage like donuts and muffins and and sweets, or like I don't do sweets. I don't do candy. I don't eat cookies. But I have a thing for like actual baked goods, like fresh baked goods. I have a weakness for that. Um, so now I've gotten into these little boxed and wrapped biscotti, which is a little healthier. Um, they're smaller. They have chocolate on them, and it's like I can't eat a chocolate bar, but something with chocolate chips in it, like a chocolate chip muffin. I've been I've been eating those a lot lately, and those have kind of been my downfall in my diet. Uh, where there's a point where I have to say, no, you don't need three of those. You don't need four of those. You know, you don't even need the one. And now we feel like crap afterwards, and we're wondering why. Um, and so I'm trying to cut down on that stuff. Just because you enjoy it doesn't always mean that it's good for you. So we're just working on a face right now. This is the this is the point where you are kind of, you see how I'm pressing the blade into the wood. I'm not I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to gouge it out real quick. I'm pressing the blade into the wood and walking it along that line because I don't want to break this part, right? I don't want to break this, and I don't want to break anything out of here. So I'm trying. You just get a little bit of persuasion in there with the tip. Just a little bit. And you can feel it hanging up. Like if it's hanging up here, you don't want to push from here because then you're going to peel all that out. So then you go back. And consider your grain direction too. Your grain is going this way. So when I get to here, what's happening? Right? If I cut down this way, I'm risking peeling the grain back this way. So then I can come back and I can say, well, I'll cut upwards. I'll go from here up to here because the piling of the grain goes this way. So if I cut against that, if I cut into that, it's obvious that this whole chunk is going to want to break out. So to stop that, I'll just go. It's not so much, you could say going with the grain, but I'm combing over top of the grain. I'm smoothing the grain, right? And you see how I just kind of wedged in there and just made my relief cut, and I went up. I went from here up to there. And I'm going to go in here, and you see how quickly all of it just gently falls out. And again, it's not really important what knife you use, it's more your comfort level. And you can rest it on a leg, but you might want to have your leg covered up in case you do slip. You know, even an old sweatshirt, or get a pair of pants, like blue jeans or something, fold them over and put it on your leg. So if you accidentally go down into your leg, you're not going into your leg. You're going, you're hitting something there. And you see how dangerously I'm cutting over across here right now, right? If I'm cutting here to there, I could slip and hit here and hurt myself. I'm just doing this because of the knife that I have, and I'm just lightly putting the tip in there and letting the tip do all the work. But if you're a beginner, you don't want to do this kind of move. You don't want to cut you should see it, because if you do that and you get the wrong pressure and you slip, Now you're going to the hospital. Now you just cut into bone. Now you just really badly hurt yourself. So that's what we want to practice right now, is avoiding making bad mistakes. And see, I like I said, I like having gloves because I can handle and touch the sharp blade and even press my thumb against it and not worry about cutting my thumb open. This is a blade right here. This is for cutting wood, right? This will cut wood if I go this way. You see, it's sharp enough to cut the wood, but I'm pressing my thumb on it and not hurting my thumb. So that's the whole point behind using the glove. It's not so much if I slip. If I were to slip, if I got dumb and I pushed, or if I got in a hurry, because some of you are going to get in a hurry. I'm not going to say that you're dumb, but you're going to get in a hurry. You're going to push through here. You're going to break that off, and it's going to go right in your hand right there. And why can I say that? Why can I tell you that? Do you see the scars? You see the scars? There's one. And I was young. I was young when I did that, okay? And I literally put blades right completely through my hand. Because I got in a hurry. What I call myself being dumb. But see, I'm just getting a little pressure going here. What I call to myself being dumb, because I can call myself dumb. I'm allowed. Nobody else owns me, right? You can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Call yourself Bill or Bob or Tom or Susie or dumb. That's not anybody else's business. You can say what you want about yourself, because only you have yourself in the end. Nobody else owns that or is responsible for that. We all know. Nobody else has to deal with it in the end. I gotta look at it every morning in the mirror. So there we have the eyes cleaned out, right? And it's just a basic. That's just your basic face shape. Right? Same as that, just a little bit different. Same thing as that, just different. Little bit different width. And see, I don't have to really cut away a lot at the nose. The slope in the forehead is already there, which is kind of cool about it. The slope in the forehead is already mostly there. And as I'm cutting this face out, I can always come back and do a little bit here and there. But you want to leave this kind of lumpy and obscure anyway up here, because it's going to be your hairline. It's going to be where you have hair. These comments look pretty cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Hello. Somebody said hello. So I hope this is enjoyable for you guys to watch. And if it's actually enjoyable for people to watch and people want to see more of it, guess what's going to happen? I will probably, most likely, take more time out of my day to make more of it, because I'm not a good filmer. I'm not a good personality as far as I believe when I look at myself or listen to myself. Sometimes I like watching my own videos, but I don't think of myself as any kind of special. You know, I'm here for the art. It's more the art. I'm not here for me. I'm not here for you guys to look at me and see me. And see here, I just did a little notch around where the eyebrows are going to be. And I just want to give a little bit. You can just take a little bit. And that's the awesome thing is you get into carving here, you can just take a little bit, just a little tiny bit. It, the one thing I will say, because I get away from this a lot myself, find something good to do often. You don't have to do it every single day. It doesn't have to be a ritual. There's no rules for life. There's no rules for, oh, I have to carve. You know, my definition in life is that I'm an artist. And it's what makes me, you see, I got a little bit of eyebrow going there with just a little bit of light touch. You see that? You see the different shape in the wood. You see the highlight there. It's difference between ice carving and wood carving. You can do this in wood and it shows up. You do that in ice carving and it doesn't matter. It doesn't show up. That's one hard lesson that I had to learn in ice carving over the years, was how different it was from wood carving, and how most of the time in ice carving you're cheating. You're just doing things to get by, and oh, it looks like something, so there, boom, done. And that's the winners of the competitions. When you actually look at their work and you break it down, yes, it's skilled. It could be skilled, and it could be well executed, but as far as its actual shape and form, there wasn't a lot there. And they were judging based on that, like shape and form. Based on what? Like, okay, so he's a real artist because he can take, it's like building a model kit. If you're a good ice carver, you're a model kit builder, which was interesting to me because that's the simpler side. When I go into wood carving competitions, I do a lot of that now. And in the wood, it really, really shows. It really looks cool. It really looks crisp and clean. But you're basically working off a template. And that's most of your competition winning pieces. It's not the same artist sitting here and doing a nicely whittled, well carved piece of wood. You don't have the same kind of delicacy and finesse that you would use here or in the art studio, say, per se. Competition, sculpture competition, carvings and all that, you're working fast. So that being said, on that level, sorry, I have a neighbor that just has the bad habit of listening in on people whenever they're doing something. He hears them talking, he thinks they're talking about him all the time. But if he were making noise, he could make all the damn noise he wants. That's his right? Like, be paranoid about what everyone else is doing. Not even talking or thinking about you till I hear you standing outside my door listening to me. Kind of creepy. Needless to say, tried meeting him a couple times. He's kind of an idiot. He's kind of a jerk, self-righteous. But you hear him over there. Hear him singing. Hear him yelling when he wants to yell. Hear him slam. If he feels like slamming a door to get attention, he'll slam a door. You know what I mean? Like, these people got nothing better to do in their life than listening on me when I'm just a dumb little wood carver. There's no government secrets being held here in my apartment. We're not watching you. We're not talking about you. We're not monitoring you. But he's extremely paranoid. He's one of those extremely paranoid You know, where I've actually opened my door and the dude's standing outside listening to what I'm watching on TV. Uh, and and he's got mental issues because we've had our instances where uh, he turns the music up real loud and he's singing loud and shouting and yelling all this gangster stuff on the other side of the wall at me and acting all tough, and like he's got to do that with me, like he's got to put up some front, and then it turns out when he's done throwing his little fit, like I have handwritten notes to say, I'm sorry that I was acting that way, neighbor. uh, I thought that you were this and that. I thought that you were doing this and that, or I thought that you were thinking this and that. Like, it's really psychotic, guys, at best. Um, I put up with it because I've been here for years and I like this little apartment. And the rental company is a fairly decent group of people to deal with on the most part. Um, like I said, I've been here for years and I'm not leaving just because of one idiot. And that's basically all it is he's young. He's got mental issues. He's lonely. But he would never, if I were to open my door while he's standing outside the door there, listening in on me, and I'd be like, "Hey, come on in, have a cup of coffee, have a beer, have some biscotti, whatever. Come on in, check out my artwork. Let's chill and talk." He would never do that because these kids, this generation now, they can't do that. They can't be neighbors. They can't, like they're so trapped in their own heads, and I feel sorry for them. I feel bad for all you young people out there. If you got your head on straight and you know how to treat people, you're way ahead of the game, especially for your generation, and I'm saying the younger generation. Um, and it's not that you guys were all born broken. It's that the people who raised you, they wanted a broken generation. They tried to raise you to be fallible. Look at the AI. Look at the tech that all your parents have created, and all your parents, which would be my generation. Look at the tech that they created. They created tech back in the 90s actually worked. You had the guy who'd say, "You've got mail," and you got your mail, and there was no bull crap involved. Um, now there's so much bull crap involved, so much useless stuff, and it's just so that somebody else can make money, and it's not even planned obsolescence, because planned obsolescence was in the beginning, is all the computers are going to crash by the year 2000, yada yada. We all knew that. um, there's your phrase. So we had planned obsolescence in the very beginning. That's not what's going on now. That's not the issue now. What the issue is now is basically they've tried to form a generation and raise a generation of how to put it correctly. Like you're a McDonald's worker or whatever, and you can't put a sandwich together, and you can't even with the pictures in front of you, you can't do it right, and you won't do it right, and nobody expects you to do it right because of your generation. Does that make sense to you guys? That I'm saying that like generationally, we raise the generation, the older people do, and those generations react and respond based on what we raise them on, you know. So a lot of it has to do with us. Me personally, I don't care what generation you are. I've always said, just work, you know. Like if you just work and you're good at your job, and how can you be unhappy in your day if you send away 15 smiling customers every hour or every half an hour or whatever it is? If you send them away smiling and, oh, thank you, I got my food, I got my shit, and I went away, I left you alone. If you can do that all day long for 8-10 hours a day, isn't that better? Isn't that better than being a dumbass and pissing people off? I mean, and I'm not saying that your generation is only dumbasses that pisses people off. That's not true at all. I'm saying it's your choice. Your choice. It's how you change perception, right? How I change perception about me is how I act. It's how I work. It's what I show on my YouTube channels. People have misperceptions of me all the time, but they don't even know me. They don't even know who I am or what I do. And my whole thing now is being an artist in this day and age. We're not respected. We're not any different than anybody else, because we're actually doing stuff out here, and we're just here for the lazy people to pick and poke at. And I don't like to say for the lazy generation, because a lot of that lazy generation is my generation. It comes from, there's the Gen Xers who succeeded and tried in life, and we woke up every day. It didn't matter if I was flipping burgers at a burger joint. I still had my life and my things that I like to do, and that made me get up every day. You know, like I'm gonna go work in a crappy restaurant all day and put up with customers all day, put up with customer abuse, have to run a cash register, have to flip burgers, have to make orders under the gun, under pressure when I'm told to make the orders. You got to hurry, you got to work fast, you got to be under stress, but I'm doing so with a huge smile on my face all day, every day, even if I'm having the worst day, because I know that as soon as I get out of there, I'm going to go hop on my bike and disappear, because I got nothing else to live for. I got nothing else to worry about. And we can all put ourselves there. You can all, everybody has the right, nobody's telling you anything. You know, the choice is yours. If you go and you work your job and you go and hop on your bike at the end of the day and go ride off into the sunset, literally, and go disappear for the rest of the day, if your rent's paid and your bills are paid, who does any of it matter to? Nobody. And people will say, oh, you don't understand parental stress and all this. Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you something about parental stress and all that, because my family has expectations of me. My family we've always been that kind of family where we try to respect one another's wills and take each other's opinions, listen to each other, try to communicate and talk about stuff, and try to make our parents proud, do what's right, you know. But I have the pressure under that just to survive in a good way and be happy in my own life in the end. And they say, I mean, the parents will say, it doesn't really matter what you do in your life, but they want you to be happy. But then if you're not doing what they want you to do, even in my situation where I didn't get a lot of support. I mean, I didn't get a lot of, I don't know. I didn't get the same support that a lot of kids. I got no financial support from my family for the most part because we were poor. I didn't get a lot of support and understanding for a lot of the things I was doing because they wanted me. They said, "Oh, you have a gift, you have a talent, you should be." I'm going to give them a little bit of a beard thing here, different from this one. They said, "Oh, you have a gift, you have a talent, you should be doing this or that. You should be making Donald Trump carvings, or you should be making George Washington carvings, or you should be making Abe Lincoln carvings, or you should be doing carvings of Jesus. You should be like everything that I did in front of my family's eyes where it was colored, and I say colored, it was colored by what they saw about the world and what they watched in the world and what they believed, what their beliefs were, what their understanding of the world around them was, and it still is. And my whole entire being, the fiber of my very being is so different from my families, just as people. And this is where I say, like, I didn't get the support that a lot of kids do, that a lot of people do, because I didn't have the art background. I didn't have the family. I didn't have the parents. I mean, I had everybody in my family had a talent. That goes without saying. But their talent with imagery, their understanding of talent with imagery was political and religious. Everything had to have symbology behind it. And they looked at my work and they're like, why are you doing devil carvings? Why are you doing, why are you carving demons? Why are you carving animals that look like they came from hell? My whole thing is like, I don't know, man. I'm just doing what I do. Or why are your images when you draw disturbing? You know, like that's where I did not get a lot of support that a lot of other kids or artists would get from their families. Is I was always misunderstood as an artist, even by those that were closest to me, which was my family. You know, and like I've always had to hide behind that. Even when I go and do a carving in public, like I'll do a face, and it could be, and this literally was my test last year at an event. I was making a carving of like a huge face. Like the face was literally half my height. She was like 4 feet tall, just the head and the neck. And it was more than obvious that it was a woman's face. And she had long hair and she had flowers in her hair. And it was, to me, the symbology behind it, it was at a spring event. It was at an event where it's supposed to be spring weather. It's supposed to be nice out. It's supposed to be, well, nobody saw that. Nobody, I mean, yeah, a couple people came by and they're like, oh, you're making an angel. Or, oh, you're making a Hawaiian lady with it because the flowers in her hair kind of look like they could be tropical. And I was like, okay, all right, I buy it. You know, like everybody's got to have they've got to see things and instantly call it something with art, especially in America, especially in propaganda, because we're trained that way. Like if I went to Italy or Spain or Germany and did the same carving, somebody might see some familiarity with a 4,000-year-old or 2,000-year-old religious relic, because that's what I carve my faces and designs and ideas based from. You see how I carve? I carve more non traditional with this tradition over here. Like I don't do Santas, and I don't do elves, and I don't, you couldn't put a name on my carvings, and I don't like to carve the same thing twice. There's some, you'll see some stuff as we move on. You'll see more of the background of my carving if I feel like continuing this. It's a very complicated, complex, and deep rooted background over many years of research and developing my own style. So I get that. I get faced a lot. Like when I was at this event, I'm sitting there carving this woman face, and people are coming up and they're like, "Oh, you're making, what is it, Donald Trump? Why are you making a Donald Trump?" Or they're like, "Oh, it's George Washington." I'm like, since when did either one of those have flowers in their hair and hair that was down to their shoulders? Like, it's obvious that she had long hair. Part of the hair came across the face. And it's funny because I took that card. I was so discouraged after that event because of all the weird comments that I got about it. Even from my own family, they walked up and they're like, "What? Yes, you're making a Trump carving, and we're into Trump and all that." And I'm like, "No." Like, I hate politics. I despise religion. I hate all religion. And I'm not saying that I don't have my own religious beliefs, but it should not be the driving force or the reason that my work sells. It should not be, you know what I mean? Like, don't use your religion. A lot of people, and I'm not saying it's wrong to do, but I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to use my religion to sell my work. My work sells my work. And if I'm religious and I want to talk about that with you, that's because that's what you want to talk about. And we both might sit there and either argue about religion or praise the God that we believe in, praise the religious thing that we follow. And even now, I'm not trying to tell you guys what I believe in, because it doesn't. I mean, it does. It has a huge role. Yes, live in it every day, but follow the word of whatever God you were taught, and bring it unto others by showing his grace. You don't have to sit there and talk about it and force it, and like people could come by and like, "Oh, that's a great eagle carving," and you're like, "Yeah, praise God." Like, that makes no sense to me. And a lot of other, I might be hated for saying this, but I see a lot of other, I'm going too deep on this beard. I'm trying to just get rid of this stuff. I see a lot of other artists use that type of salesmanship to sell their work, and that's all. To me, that's all that you're doing. That's all that you're doing is you're selling work. Like, "Oh, I really want a cross." Well, I don't do those. Like, "I really want this or that." And don't get me wrong, I've done work for religious people before. And I was raised a certain type of religion, and I can relate to their need for certain things. But to charge for that, number one to me, okay, you want this, I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna do whatever I can do best with it until I don't want to do it anymore, because it's religious, and even there, your beliefs may not be necessarily in line with my beliefs. Um, so that's even hard for me to stay there too long and work on the piece. And don't get me wrong, everybody has the right, but for me to be there, that's my life and my time that I'm giving you. See the old face. Yep, somebody can guess it and say what it is. Go right ahead and make a dumb guess and be wrong. I'm just making a face while I'm talking. But you know what I mean? It's like, even if we believe in the same religious things, we don't. There's a point where I get sick and tired of being at your place. I don't, I don't like going to church. I don't like going to, I like going into a church and being like, like seeing, especially in Italy or Europe, I've been to those churches where I'm like, well, yeah, dude, I could spend forever in here just based on their freaky paintings on the walls and this, like, but they show heaven and hell in their churches. They don't shy away, because that's history. Those churches were made. You see the murals that were painted on the walls, 500-600 years ago or whatever, 1,000 years ago. And back then, painters, people who could paint or make sculptures, were a great influence on the world, because they'd say, where'd that come from? How could you just out of your mind? How could you just out of this or that? And so the artist would say, well, that's this, read the Bible. This is the story of the world. And I'm putting it in pictures because a lot of people back then were illiterate or unaware. And that back then, propaganda, right? Painting and art is propaganda. But am I a propaganda-driven artist? Do I have to be necessarily? It's never really. I mean, I've done a lot of commercial work. I've done signs. Like I said, I've done some religious people or pieces. I've done some religious symbolic things for people or organizations that I got paid for. Put bread on the table, and I even said, yes, I could be a cathedral carver the rest of my life and be happy. If all that I had to do, literally, if all that I had to do was read the Bible and retranslate the stories of the Bible into art pieces, and I could make a living doing it, I'd probably do it. That's the monk's life, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And you're passing on even whatever it is. If you're Buddhist, if you're Christian, if you're Catholic, I'm saying whatever your religion is that you're promoting and telling the stories of and passing on the information from, if I could live my life happy and well paid doing that stuff, if I was doing the story, this kind of looks like Nicodemus. If I was doing the story of Nicodemus and I had this huge panel and all I had to do here was sit and carve these little figures, 1 foot tall men and women, and put them in pictures all day for the rest of my life, I'd probably be happy. If I could, if I had what I needed in life, and I got some of the freedoms that I wanted in life, or if it were if it became my prison sentence for life, and that's all that I did for my life, I'd probably accept it, and accept so happily, because it's within my work. My joy is within my work. My joy is here, contained within doing the work. It's not what I see afterwards. It's continuing every day that I'm doing. It's like when I'm building a stone patio. My joy is in doing the job and getting paid to be there every day and do the job. My joy isn't after the job. I don't care about your stone patio that I spent a year putting in, especially if I didn't even make good money and it was miserable every day being there because I was dead broke doing it. The only reason I showed up was because I loved the work. I loved doing the work, and I was dumb enough to do it for free or for next to nothing. Did it suck? Yes. Was it a mistake? Yes. Will I do it again? Most likely. Uh, but do I want to do it again for no pay? No. But that's the problem with being an artist, is we don't look at things the same way as we do having a job. Like I would rather, seriously, I'd rather have a job at Burger King or whatever, some fast food joint flipping burgers, and then get off work and go off and hang out at the park and ride my bike around and be out in the sun and be out, and then if I want to go home at night and do some artwork, I just go home at night and do some artwork. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what artwork I choose to do. I'm still happy doing my artwork, because I have my freedom. And I have my freedom. I only have my freedom because I give up my freedom most of the day and most of the time to some crappy burger flipping job where I don't have to think. I don't have to worry about paying bills. I don't have to worry about giving myself to somebody else for free. I don't have to worry about giving my artwork away, and I have time and energy. When I'm doing that stone job, right? And this is in all of my other live videos last year, all year, I'm there complaining, and I'm there like, this sucks. And I'm sitting there going, I'm so dead broke, and I still have to go out and work at night. I still have to go out and earn a certain amount every day. And it's not like I had a job to go to and had to be there at a certain time. It was, I had to actually pull my big boy pants on, put the bootstraps, and go out and change gears, literally change gears, get cleaned up, change my clothes, and go out running around town, hustling, doing deliveries late at night, and then trying to get up the next day and have the energy to do the same thing all over again. And that's hard. And you're making YouTube videos. You're sitting here in front of a camera talking to people while you're doing your work too. It wears thin on you pretty quick. It's not exciting. It's not fun. When it's not fun anymore, you don't want to do it. And that's just it. Is I think, man, I want to go back to Burger Stop. I want to go back to Wing Stop. I want to go back to Burger Joint, fry food, and just do whatever I feel like doing. If I feel like making a song, I can make a song on the guitar. If I feel like playing the drums, this is when I'm not working. When I'm not working, if I'm earning, and it's hard to go out. It doesn't matter what you do. when you're working for yourself and you have an actual business and you pay taxes and you pay insurance and you have all these stresses. You have all these things. If you're not into the business, owning the business side of it, it's really hard. And I'm not into the business side. I personally, I hate it. I hate thinking, oh, this is tax time. It's like bearing a cross, because I know that as a business I earned too much this year or whatever, whether I earn money or not. I don't get a return. I miss having a job and very little responsibility other than getting up and going to my job every day, earning my pay, paying into the tax base outright, and not even worrying about it, not even looking at the numbers that I'm giving the tax people. And then when I go to do my taxes at the end of the year, based on having a wood shop that costs a lot of money and having a job and paying into the system all year, you see how easily this knife just goes into the areas and cuts away. But when you have a job and you have a business, the business lets you, I get a fat refund, and every year. I miss that. I miss having my bills paid. I mean, I look at it too that I haven't been broke. I haven't been broke until this year. Like in what, 5, 6 years. And I look at when I look at the formula, see right now I'm trying to trace this out and not skip over and break a piece out. When I look at the formula and I look at what got me to where I got to over the past few years, and suddenly why I'm broke this year, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, well, it's obvious that I'm broke this year because I spent everything on doing work for other people at their house or on their projects, and I didn't get paid for it. I never got paid back for it, and I never put my hand out for it, and I never demanded what I should have for it. I didn't, and I just kept thinking the whole time, like, oh, I can just go off and hustle. I can just go off and hustle, and literally I would bail. I would bail a lot on those projects, like for days or weeks at a time, or I'd feel like crap and I just wouldn't go for a month or two. But I was at that point, I had spent so much time there, and I was broke, and I was overwhelmed, and the hustle was over. And I'm trying to get back to this whole year. I've been trying to get back to what did I do back then, and this is only like 2, 3 years ago, when I was doing pretty well, just working for myself, only working for myself. I was doing fine. My taxes, I was still getting returns, and I go, okay, so there was each one of those years I had a job, like a W-2, like go clock in, you're there for 10 hours a day. I had an actual W-2 job at least 6 months out of the year, every one of those years. I haven't had that in over 3 years. I've only been working for myself and only been paying out the nose in taxes. Oh, almost got my bare foot with my knife. Hopefully I didn't ruin my blade. But that's the first thing I'm looking at. That is the very first thing that I'm going to look at is whenever I've succeeded with my art and whenever I've done well for myself and had money to buy whatever, like buy all the saws I need or buy the equipment, you know, or buy extra cars and have them parked and go to events and have the energy and the time. And that was when I was really hustling it, and I was actually working a job with a paycheck, whether it be part-time or full-time. And then all of my non-paycheck job time was 100% my time. I didn't have to, when you have a business, so this is the thing I'm trying to put across. This is the difficulty that I have. And this is the old me. When I had my business before, I had the same problem. People were like, why wouldn't you enjoy? And I just had this conversation with a fellow the other night. He's like, why would you not enjoy being your own boss, having your own time, calling all your own shots? Why would you not enjoy that? And I'm like, because it's nothing but stress. if you're not making, like when you have a job, right? You have security. You immediately have that back door, back of your mind, security. Even if it's only $150 a week or $400 a week you're making or $300 a week you're making, with a job, you get out what you put in immediately. Like, or not immediately, but indefinitely. You get out, you say, well, I'm putting in 20 hours of work. I'm going to get 20 hours of pay, and I'm only going to put that in, and I'm out. I'm out when I'm done, right? When you don't have that job to fall back on, it doesn't matter if you're only working 20 or 30 hours a week. It doesn't matter if you're making $60 a week off of that job. That job is your break from reality. Because that job, you only stay there because you're guaranteed to get paid for the time that, if you're staying at a job, an actual job, and not getting paid, not getting compensated for your time, you quit, you leave, you go look for another job, or you go do side hustle and you quit that job. Eventually you go off and just do your own thing and go back to being side hustle. Because being side hustle full-time for a living is immediately, schedule-wise, it's easier because you don't have to get up. You don't have to do anything anybody else is telling you. But now guess what happens? You get overwhelmed. You get into too many things. Then you get mentally and physically sick, physically and mentally exhausted. When you're out there doing your own thing all the time, 24/7, you're very vulnerable, and you have nothing. You have nothing to lean back on. You don't have that 6 hours a week that you know that you're going to put the work shirt on and you're going to go stand behind the counter and you don't have to do anything for anybody. You know what I mean? When you go to that job, you basically get to hide out in the safety of that secure, guaranteed paycheck, fairly stable, fairly safe job for the most part. Most of us go to a job because it's safer than where we were. I mean, and I'm saying that I've climbed trees for money. I've done really dangerous work for money, and it was the best work. It was the best work. It was my favorite place on earth to be. But did I go do it for another company? A couple times I did here and there, but I wasn't the lead guy, and I couldn't call the shots. Like when I wanted to climb, I wanted to climb on the real dangerous stuff, and they wouldn't let me. Or I would look at stuff where another guy was having trouble with climbing, and I'd say, let me up there. I see it. I know exactly what's got to be done, and let me up there. And they'd say, well, you're not the supervisor. You're not the one making the call on that. So working as another tree guy for a tree company, you're basically, and I wouldn't say that I was willing to climb every single. There's times where I said no to climbs working for other companies because they know how their company runs, and they know what trees to ask you to climb to see what you have. And I'm not saying that I was the best climber, but there was a lot of the difficult ones that I could have figured out, and there was a lot of the easy ones where I'd be like, dude, that's sketchy as shit. I don't want to climb that, you know? And that's just a matter of right place, right time, right nerves. When I was climbing for myself, I climbed everything, and I would either say yes to a job or say no to it, you know? And it was mostly, I would say yes or no to jobs. You see, I'm resting it on my knee here, but I'm not cutting, I'm not pushing hard. I'm just stabilizing the piece to make it easier to pull. I'm not saying that I actually said yes or no to jobs based on how dangerous or scary they were. It was more the pay. There was ones, some of the scariest jobs, and my friends who climb, we're getting a little face done. My friends who are in the business who climb too, they saw some of the jobs that I did by myself, and they're like, I can't believe that you did that by yourself. Like, how did you do that by yourself? You know, and I just said, I don't know. There's some that, like, I have to see it and feel it happening. Like, I have to almost know that it's going to work out when I immediately look at it. And there's a lot of them that I do right away. I say, if I see myself up in the tree before going in the tree, like if I look at a tree and I go, I see my route, you know, like boom, it's an easy job. And they always do, even when they're extremely difficult, even when some are like, whoa, dude, that is so sketch. And I'm like, I'll get it figured out because I see a couple pick points that I can use to work from. And when I get to those will tell me the rest, you know, and it might take me a couple tries to get to those, but I'm safe about it. And I know, like when I'm climbing for myself, I know what I have to do, and the one thing I don't worry about is the time. I don't worry about, and that's why I lose money at it. But I survive. I come out alive. I come out better than I was when I went in. I come out knowing a little bit more than I did before, because when I look at that tree in the end, when I look at that whole climb, and I do document a lot of those when I go do them, I go, oh, I could have done this, and that better. Okay, so the next one, oh, and the next one is nothing like the last one. You know, and that's what happens too. What happens a lot in that environment and that type of thing when you're running a home services business is usually those climbing jobs were attained because the guy was he was a he was a customer of mine from from a foundation repair, or he had really bad mold issues in his bathroom in one of his rental units, and I had to fix that for him years ago. So then what happens is he's saying, "Oh, could you go over to the rental unit and check the door or fix the door for my tenant?" She said the doorknob fell off. Suddenly, you're going back to that. Okay, am I a tree guy? Oh man, I have to have a whole van full of different tools for different things. I just came out of a 75-foot tall tree. It was windy all day, blowing me around. I'm exhausted. Now I have to go over and fix a doorknob and be in somebody else's space, be in somebody else's environment, deal with them. And so it became this whole kind of too much where I was doing too many things. And it wasn't really getting me anywhere because I'm getting paid for the tree job, and the tree job was my only focus. That was the only thing that I wanted to do. And there again, where I say, okay, well, I'm going to do the tree job, and then I'm going to go flip burgers at night, work in a pizza joint at night or something, and just do side tree jobs, or go landscape, go be a foreman for a landscaping company and do tree work on the side, and go by there on the weekends or at night and do a little bit of work here and there on the tree and eventually get it down or eventually get it all trimmed up. I was doing tree work as a side thing most of the time to actually having a job. And then, of course, it became full-time. But the full-time thing of it was as I was chasing the dollars around, it was like, well, can you fix some plumbing? Yeah, sure. Can you? Okay. And then you have to get back and trim the tree. And you're always just worried about money. You're always doing things to make money. And that's the difficult part of working for yourself. It's like I still have to go out tonight at some point and work. And the only reason I'm sitting here making a live right now is because I'm downloading some software and waiting for all of that stuff to kick back in. Waiting for all that stuff to get done, doing its thing. So there's a little face, and people are going to go, oh yeah, it looks just like Santa Claus. To me, it doesn't. It looks more like what did I say? Like a Greek or whatever, or like Nicodemus or Pythagoras or one of them guys there. A theologist, an educated man, Da Vinci, right? We're artists. I'm an artist. That's what I'm trying to do here, guys. Is trying to. If I'm going to create an iconic bust of somebody, it's going to be another artist. It's not going to be a stupid president or some political or even religious figures. Like, none of that makes me happy. None of that interests me. I've done that stuff for pay. And I don't even really like doing it for pay. I've done a lot of iconic work for people in the past and for companies. That was the whole thing with the ice carving thing. It's a media-driven art form. Okay? It's one of those things where they're saying, can you do this logo? And blah, blah, blah. And when the guy dressed in the giraffe suit comes out or whatever, when we play this song, you do this. You know, you're still a show clown. You're still a monkey for their performance and their display, and people, yay, stand around. You're basically a clown. I call it being a clown with a chainsaw. It's essentially what it becomes, and I know that's hard for people to understand. They're like, you got freedom. You can perform it. I don't like performing. I do. I do like. There's a couple of events that I do each year right now, and I don't know if I'm going to go back in to taking more fairs and festival contracts throughout the years or not. Um, I like my 2 events. I like my 1 event a year. I like those are fun because it's like, yeah, you know, like it's something different. It's a break in the norm. There's been years where I was like, I can't do it this year. It's too much. I got too much going on. There's too much stress. I got, you know, and even this year I was kind of questioning. There he is. There's a carved face. Looks like a Aristotle or something. Like the guy with the big beard, and he's thinking about a lot of stuff. Even this year, I wasn't sure that I was actually going to be able to do this event that I've signed up to do again, that I've signed the contract and agreed to be at, just because of where my health has been at this year. I have not been feeling super energetic. And like I said, I've been getting way unhealthy and been getting way out of shape, and where I just want to lay around and be lazy and go get a job. And then I'm like, wait, that event is 2 days. It's a 2-day event out of the entire month. If I can't do that event, how am I going to get up every morning and go to a normal job? I'm not. So my whole thing now is take the event, book it, again, do it, show up, and go get a job. Just go get a job. It's 1 weekend. The event's 1 weekend out of your life. It's 2 days. You don't have to take time off work. Now the problem is, if I go get that job, and I've been offered quite a few jobs lately. I go get that job, then I can't do my week-long fair. Which it's not the worst thing, because like I said, I'm getting older. I'm not super into the events, and actually that fair, that week that fair is always the same week as an event, some other event that I want to go to on that weekend. So when I do that fair, I'm missing that entire week. I'm missing that entire. I can't work. Like I'm there at the fair for the whole week, night and day. I have to take time off work. And I'm missing out. I'm missing out on fun events, and that's why I stopped doing the fair a few years ago. Because I couldn't. My job at the time, I didn't like having to take a whole week off of work in the middle of summer to go and be at a fair, and it's just not really. It's not really my cup of tea. It's not my crowd, per se, and they don't appreciate art, per se. They like seeing, like I said, they like seeing bears and eagles and just your normal run of the mill. They want to see chainsaw art. They don't want to see. You see how I'm making his eyes, kind of. I'm just messing with the eyes. They don't want to see art, as I would call it, right? They don't want to see the art that I want to do. They want to see the art that they want to see, and then so that's where at that point you're just monkey with a chainsaw. If I go to a actual wood carving event that same weekend, like a competition, that's fun. And it's only the weekend. It's, yeah, you might take Friday off. You might take Monday off afterwards because you're beat. But you're not taking an entire week off. You go and you do your thing, and you have your job. You're not like, you have your job to go back to on Monday. So you're not killing yourself trying to get through the week. You're not stressed. You're not trying to make extra sales. You're not trying to, I mean, you might be if you're into it, but you don't have to, because you have backing, you have your support. It's like having sponsors. Like if I were to go and do stuff and be sponsored for it, the whole goal with YouTube is to get YouTube to the point where it actually does, because right now I don't make any money off YouTube. I don't make any money doing YouTube. I'm doing it purely because I like carving and making little videos and talking to you guys. It has nothing to do with the amount of money I'm making. There's no motivation behind that. There has been a few times where, oh great, yeah, my channel's taken off for a week or a month. Yeah, I'm going to put a lot in. It's worth it. And then it falls off so quickly. It's not worth it. So it keeps coming back to that. The only part of it that's worth it is whether I enjoy doing it or not. And that's it. So, that being said, that's where I'm at right now in my path with my carvings and my decision making, is that I'm kind of like, I'm independent every day. I make my choice whether I get up and carve or whether I get up and go out and drive around town chasing money, delivering food orders all day. My choice. But it seems more and more, it just seems more and more like I'm getting more cynical or more fed up, where I don't want to deal with people. Where, like when you work for yourself, and the thing is I have to see people every day to go out and make money doing food deliveries. I have to be in traffic every day. I have to deal with people and their idiot actions every day. It's like every day, if I go on YouTube and make videos every day, I have to put up with whatever idiocy this general public viewing audience wants to give me. If it's all idiots and they just want to act like a bunch of idiots, then that ruins my excitement. It ruins my vibe. If you're killing the vibe, I don't want to be around for it. And the whole thing is, if I had a job where I have to be a certain way for a certain amount of hours a day, either way that you look at it, is, I guess my point is, either way that you look at it, you're going to have to give yourself in ways that you don't want to. You're going to have to put yourself in a lot of uncomfortable places. And I think the last thing that I said to that friend who I was having the conversation with the other day kind of might have made a point. I don't know. It seemed like nothing gets through to that guy. And he remembers shit from like last year that he remembers conversations I don't remember at all. And he's bringing them up. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, like your head is so full of maybe you're one of those types that needs to not have a job. Me, I don't remember a lot of stuff like that most of the time. There's times I don't remember. You could have talked to me yesterday. I see so many gosh darn people every day, and I'm so exhausted with it at the end of every day. I probably don't even remember the conversation that we had 2 days ago. And that's just how I am, because I'm focused on other things. I'm not focused on people and people things. I don't care about the football game. I don't care about gossiping. When I talk, I mean, yeah, I talk a lot here when I do these videos because there's nothing else going on. If I were outside doing this, I'd be listening to the birds. It's cold out right now. We got another snowstorm last night. It was 50 degrees all day. Beautiful weather. I was so excited when I finally got out and got going. And then the temperature dropped like 20 degrees and we got a nasty snowstorm overnight. It's spring. It's that time of year. But I don't really like talking to people. I don't like gossiping. I don't like all the rumor mill. I don't get into sports and talk about it much with people. I don't understand it. There's times where, okay, I'll see a fighter. I'll see a UFC fight, and that might interest me. That might be cool for a minute. But then that fades off. I lose interest pretty quick. I'm always just thinking about other things. What do you guys think about? I'm just digging this guy's eyes out. Not really sure. I think it's kind of cool. You see how they're coming out now? Woo, he looks like an old wise man. All right, so now we have our two characters there. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Real fun time. So yeah, I haven't seen much in the old comments, and I think, it's high time that I get my butt moving. I got to go out and actually work now. Try to go make a little bit of actual money, numbers. See, the thing is, guys, that I miss about having a job, and I'll tell you this because it's been 3-4 years since I've had a job. I miss having to be somewhere in an hour, or having to be somewhere in a couple hours, and I only have time for stuff like this. I guess that's my point that I'm trying to make. When I have a job, I'm so committed to everything, and I'm so, like, my job is important and nothing else matters to me other than getting to my job and keeping my job and being there on time. When you got to be somewhere for 5-6 hours, 10 hours a day, you're trying to take care of stuff that you got to take care of stuff when you get the time to take care of it, or if you got to take time off to take care of it. And then you're always finding ways to keep yourself somewhat happy and content enough with your life that you can step away from your life. And the thing about jobs is it's entertainment. It's entertaining to go and just stand around and get paid, or to go and work. Like when I go do mason jobs, I'm more entertained by the challenge every day of, I have to do this. This is my job. I've been set to fix this. And it's like I'm there on a mission. I'm there with a goal in mind. I'm there with intention. And that 8 hours flies by. It might start slow. It might start painful. You might hate having to start out every day as someone else's property, get the buckets out and do this and that. But when you think about it, what do I do at the end of that day every day? I go home and I chill. Right now, if I'm home and I'm chilling, I'm constantly thinking, what else should I be doing? I should not be just sitting here relaxing. I can't sit here and just relax. I gotta keep going. I should be at the shop doing stuff. I should be cleaning stuff. I should be fixing this or that, and it doesn't stop. When you have a job and you have only 2 or 3 hours before you have to be at that job, I think me personally, I'm more productive with my free time. I get more done in my off time when I have a job. I don't feel bad for laying around and napping after work. I really don't. I'm sorry to say. If I get off work and I go to camp and I lay there and I pass out and sleep all afternoon because my Lyme disease is bugging me, because I got tick Lyme disease bites one year, and my body still has lingering effects. I get weak a lot often, get exhausted, old age. But if you have a job, you can get away with that. And I kind of feel bad about it, but I also sit there and go, I don't feel bad about it, because that's what I needed. And the artwork can wait. The artwork is not the most important thing. It's been hard for me this year because I've often been taking a lot of breaks from the artwork. And I'm not saying that it's been to go do anything more. It's actually been at a loss. But it's the old age catching up to me thing, where I just don't have the energy. I literally only have the energy or the strength most days to just get up, get ready to go out, and then go out and do what I have to do to make my money for the day, and then call it a day. And that's kind of where, if I had a job, it's not as hard when you have a job to do that. Because when you don't have a job and you live that way, now you're not making extra. Now you're not guaranteed. You have no foothold other than what you give yourself. And if you can't function as your best, most natural, instinctive self without something to lean back on. I have nobody right now. I have nothing holding me up. No job, no security, nothing. And you see the old wood knot there. It's quite a piece to cut into. You just take your time with it. No security, no backing. No, well, I'm gonna get my paycheck at the end of the week. When you have a job, you get a paycheck. You know about what you're gonna make each week. You know what you're making each week. You know if you don't work. You know if you call in sick. Whether you can afford to. There's never been a time, really, if I think about it, never been a time that I've had, and I'm saying like full-time, like committed, full-time foreman, running crews, making okay money each week, making enough where I don't have to do extra. Those times I was never broke. I didn't worry about money. I didn't, well, because I was getting a fatty tax return. Every spring I was getting a nice tax return, whether I did stuff for my business or not. I still had that nice tax return coming back to me because I had paid in out of my wages. And I set when I had a job, I could set my wages each week. So I was paying heavily into the system. I was putting extra away. And I think that's the thing, is that if you're not business minded, which I'm not a business, and that's where I say be careful of what you ask for. Yeah, I like that. I like how that's coming out. It's just really hard to cut. It takes time to work it. Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you get yourself into commitments wise. Because whether you're a business minded individual or whether you just need to go get a job and be like me, there's times I miss having a job. I really do. Because that, like I said, that's easy. That's the easy life. You're not stressing. You're not thinking. You're not, like, I get to go out now, and there's every day I have a goal of how much money I bring in every day. And it's up to me 100% to bring that money in. But I'm also at the mercy of those companies that I work for, and I'm at the mercy of the customers that I do the deliveries to. So it's not freedom. And I'll tell you, like the other night, guys, literally I was out there for 6 hours to make just a little bit over $60. And that hurt. That hurt really bad. That hurt me almost worse than if I had just stayed home and made nothing. And a lot of this time now, and it happens every year this time, that the companies get really, really crappy to work for. They get really shady. They pull a lot of stuff. They're really scammy. And I'm talking Uber Eats and DoorDash. And yes, I have videos about how they cheat us and how they're ripping their customers off too. I still work for them, but I'm only there as long as they're going to keep me around and not screw with my account. As soon as they take my accountant away, I'm going to make a whole channel about them and how bad they are to work for. Hopefully that channel will become very popular and I'll make a bunch of money off that. I can make my living sitting there talking bad about bad companies, because they are pretty bad companies to work for. I will say that. When you work for yourself and you find a way to make a living and provide for yourself every day, you have to, just like any job, you're going to have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do or like to do. But it's a little bit tougher when you're out there on your own. It's a little bit tougher because you're not free, and there's times I get yelled at and poked at and mistreated a lot out there on my own. There's times that I deal with other people's bad moods or other people's abuse a lot, and I should not have to deal with it at this point in my life. But it's the life that I chose. It's the business that I chose to be in. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope some of the things that I've said could be helpful. I'm sorry, I'm such a geek with my knives that I'm obsessively looking at the tip of this knife. That's got a really nice tip. That's really cool. I got it sharpened really nice. It's acting really nice. It looks weird. It looks kind of fat, but it's not. It's just the light reflecting off it. It's super sharp. Well, there I would say be careful what you get yourself into, and don't get discouraged if you have to do that work thing to get by. Then go do it. All right, thanks for hanging out, guys. This has been fun hanging out. We'll see you later. Clicky click.